I get some reaction and analysis now from Professor Hisham Ghassib. He's joining us live from the capital of Jordan. Professor, thank you very much indeed for being with us. The new Libyan authorities claim the country is now liberated, but we're just hearing reports that Colonel Gaddafi's most influential son, Saif, has just released a statement saying he'll keep up the fight. So, is the war over or not?
Well, no, of course not, because Libya has been actually invaded under the pretext of protecting civilians. But actually, it has been invaded, and as your report has said, a lot of devastation occurred in Libya. Much of the infrastructure has been destroyed. Tens of thousands of people have been killed. Now, so actually it is an occupation, and a very brutal occupation, and I don't think that there will be peace in Libya. It's just like in Iraq, you see. The war was not the end of conflict in Iraq. After the hostilities stopped, actually a movement of resistance started, and I think the same will be happening in Libya. I think that the Libyan people will not accept this.
You describe it as a brutal occupation. You would deny then that is not what the majority of Libyans wanted, the outcome being, of course, the collapse of Gaddafi's regime?
Yeah, but you see, it was not a revolution. I mean, they claimed it was a revolution. Now, I've studied the revolutions not only in this part of the world, but in history. You know, historically speaking, this cannot be described as a revolution. It was some sort of a coup d'etat, where you have a military coup d'etat backed by NATO. And actually, the NATO actually, under the pretext of helping civilians, of protecting civilians, waged a war against Libya, both the infrastructure, the state, the institutions, and the ordinary civilians. And the reports say that tens of thousands of Libyans were killed. Now, that cannot be described as a revolution. It's an occupation, and the gangs, the armed gangs, we've seen what they've done with Gaddafi. These armed gangs are not revolutionaries.
So
I think they're mercenaries.
What do you make of NATO then saying it's actually going to end its campaign in Libya by the end of the month?
Well, yeah, perhaps their official campaign, but I think that their allies in Libya, those who are going to control Libya, or who aspire to control Libya, will find a lot of trouble in convincing the people of their legitimacy. I think there will be a resistance movement, not only by Gaddafi's sons, but generally speaking, there will be a resistance movement in Libya. And let us not forget that Libya has a glorious tradition of resistance of the occupier. So I think that there will be a resistance movement in Libya, similar to what we've had in Iraq.
Can we talk about the nature of Gaddafi's death? He was apparently executed by the interim government's forces. There are many saying, actually, it would have been better to put him on trial. Indeed, even the Libyan Prime Minister, he wishes Gaddafi hadn't been killed, preferring a trial. But wouldn't a trial actually stir up past tensions and perhaps delay Libya's future progress and not bring about any form of closure?
Yeah. Well, you see, I think this is a detail. What I mean is that, okay, what happened with Gaddafi, whether he was actually executed on the spot, whether he was tortured, etc., these are details, of course, horrifying details, horrid details, but still they are details. The basic fact is not what happened to Gaddafi. That was only expected at the hands of these gangs. These gangs are I mean, I expect such atrocities from such gangs. But the main issue is occupation. Libya has been occupied. It was semi-independent at one time under Gaddafi. Okay, Gaddafi had many horrid actions were perpetrated by Gaddafi, but at least Libya, during Gaddafi's time, regime was actually an independent or a semi-independent country. Now it has lost its independence. There has been a brutal occupation, and the results will be...
Let me quickly ask you, the NTC is obviously a transitional government. It's an interim government. They're promising elections. We're seeing elections taking place in Tunisia today. Don't you have the same sort of optimism that a form of democratic election could actually take place in 8 months there in Libya?
Well, you see, there's a fundamental difference between Tunisia and Libya. In Tunis, you had a genuine popular revolution, which actually deposed a dictator, not only a dictator, but a very corrupt dictator. And so in Tunisia, this is the fruit of a real, genuine revolution. Not so in Libya. In Libya, it is an occupation. Now, you can I'm sure they're going to have some sort of an election, but it will be a formal election, just like what happened in Iraq. It will not be a genuine expression of let me say, of the will of the people. I don't think so. I think that it will be a mere formality, hiding something else beneath it, just like what happened in Iraq.
It's very interesting to have a conversation.
Occupation does not give... you see, occupation does not breed democracy. That is a fundamental principle of world history, I think. Revolutions breed democracy, but not occupation, not military occupation, foreign occupation. So I doubt very much that there will be a real, genuine democracy in Libya from now on. Very
interesting to have a conversation with you on this. Thanks so much for your time. Live from the capital of Jordan, Professor Hisham Ghassib. Thank you.